Welcome to
The Neapolitan
Scoop Podcast.
My name is Steph.
My name is Shay.
And my name is Rose. Thank you for tuning in to Neapolitan Scoop Podcast, where you get your weekly scoop. If you have not subscribed to our podcast, what are you waiting for? Go subscribe right now. Before we jump into the content, quick note, it is created for adult audiences only. We do advise listener and viewer discretion. Today's topic, keeping up with the Joneses. What exactly does that mean? According to Perkin Hardy Strauss, Wealth Management. Keeping Up with the Joneses entered the American lexicon in 1913 as the title of a comic strip, so way before we were born. This comic strip was about a socially ambitious McGinnings. And this family struggled to match the glamorous lifestyle enjoyed by their neighbors, the Joneses. The phrase caught on and became a part of common parlance in the United States, where the phenomenon seemed to thrive in practically every neighborhood in every town across the land. So, keeping up with the Joneses was basically one family trying to keep up with another family to keep up appearances. With this being said, we're going to send questions over to Shay.
All right. So, first question. What causes people to feel such an intense need to keep up with the Joneses?
Because they don't mind their business and they need to be focused on their life and not somebody else's.
Exactly right. Exactly right.
I think it's unhappiness with themselves. People are unhappy with themselves, so they feel like they constantly have to compete with other people. People that might not even know they're being competed against.
Oh, hell no. So do you think it's like a lack of self-esteem or something? Like,
I think it has something to do with ego. Like they don't want the next person to think that they're beneath them, or like they don't want people to feel like, okay, well, what you got, I can't have. Like, at least is what I think.
I think a harsh truth is always better than a nice lie.
Never thought about that. Ego.
Yeah. Because a lot of people are always trying to one up the next person. And a lot of people, like, it has a lot to do with self-esteem too. Like you don't want to feel less than, and you don't want somebody to look at you as though you're left in. So that's where the ego part comes in. So rather than you just kind of like living within your means because of your ego, you live outside of that so you can keep up this appearance that, hey, I'm your equal, or maybe even I'm better than you. When in reality, you're probably putting yourself in debt.
It's a facade.
It's a facade, yeah.
That is, I never thought of it that way. I always thought like, I always ask myself like, why do people try to keep up with other people? Like, why don't you just stay in your lane and focus on your lane? Why do you always try to like, one up somebody? But I never thought of it as an ego thing. Like, it's crazy. I always thought of it as a lack of, self-confidence, because if you're self-confident, you're gonna do you
know, no matter what.
But it also lacking self-confidence it goes hand in hand. Like, it'll bruise your ego, especially if you have a big one. So okay, I learned something new today.
You know, they're saying like what's it called, little man syndrome or something like that, where I saw this video on Instagram with he's a little man, he's literally a little man, but he drives around this big ass fucking truck, and somebody was like, that's literally the definition of little man syndrome, like the big, or like people trying to like overcompensate for where they lack. So you go by the big truck and with the big wheels, when in reality, who knows like what demons you really fight internally or what your insecurities are.
Because you're a little man.
Because you're a little man.
Self-conscious about being a little man.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's a form of keeping up with the Joneses too. It's just like the male version. Like, let me go get a big truck so I can feel like I'm that dude.
Yeah. Yeah, that made me look at it from a different light. So
ego, yeah.
Because that's you did, that's perfect how you put it. Like, you don't need this big ass truck, but yet and still, because you're a little man and your ego, you feel like you have to prove yourself to the next man who is bigger than you is like, oh, let me go get a big ass truck, even though your feet can't even reach the pedals, you know. And now you struggling on the highway, which is similar to people struggling financially to keep up with somebody. Like now you're
Mm-hmm.
struggling because you're not in your lane. Like you are trying to keep up with somebody, and
Yep.
you need to just be focused
Money is
on
the root
what.
of all evil.
Yep. That is so
But I don't
true.
even think it's money. Like it's just money. It's like even like people try to one up people in relationships. Like, oh, they're in a relationship, I gotta be in a relationship.
Or they
Oh,
get married, so I gotta go get married.
yeah, or they're in school, so now I'm go to school. It's like,
Which, hell, that's a good thing then. So if I motivated your ass to go to school, then you're welcome.
but are you
But I
doing
think
it for
it's
the right
different.
reasons? Because
Right.
some
Yeah.
people will say, oh, I just want to go to school because they're going to school and I feel like I have to get an education. And school isn't for everybody.
Right.
So now you go enroll in school and it's like you're not doing what you're supposed to do because that's not what you genuinely want to do.
Yeah.
Now, you can motivate some people, to go to school, but you could tell when people actually want to do it because they apply themselves. And you can tell when people are doing it just because they want to keep up with
Right.
whoever they're trying to keep up with. So,
Makes sense. It makes sense.
yeah.
It makes sense.
hmm I think another way is like, you ever notice how how you could tell, like some people, like Shay said, like some people actually, like you can motivate people, you can people look at you and you're like, oh my god, I want to be like them, like I want to do this, that, and the other. But you could tell when it's from a genuine place because like a person who looks up to you is going to tell you, wow, like you really motivated me to go to school. Like a person who's trying to keep up with you is just going to go do it, and now all of a sudden you're like, oh, you're in school now, like, or you got a boyfriend now, but like, make it make sense. Like,
Yeah.
you see those little patterns,
Yeah.
and that shows that they're trying to keep up with you.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
All right. So, that sums that up in a nutshell. All right. So next question is, why are trying to keep up with the Joneses potentially so harmful?
That is funny. Why is trying to keep up with the Joneses potentially so harmful? Because you're gonna go in debt, like, and you're never gonna be happy because you're
Yeah.
never gonna genuinely be doing what you want to do, and you're always trying to
That.
keep up with the next person.
I think other than even financial debt, because financial debt, you can file bankruptcy,
Yeah.
you go through the whole process and whatever, but it's not genuinely being happy with yourself, not being happy with what you already have. Even psychologically, not understanding what it took somebody else to get to, where they are. A couple of days ago, I saw something on Instagram and somebody had like a picture of a room and it was only like a bed on the floor. And the guy on that post says something like, to me, this is my castle because y'all don't know where I've come from to get this room
Right.
with this bed on the floor. It's like to you, it might just be a room that's nothing in it. It's like, but you don't know what I've been through to get to this room and this bed. So it kind of reminded me of that, being like, you never know what people have gone through to get to where they are. So I think, like you guys have said, if you take that as motivation, that's the healthy way to do it. But if you're
Yeah.
taking it as an ego thing, that's unhealthy. So not only are you financially in debt, but you're mentally struggling with yourself to try to do something that you might not even want. Like Steph said, like you might not want to go to school, but all of a sudden you see, I don't know, Jane over there going to school. You're like, damn, I gotta go to school too. It's like you
I
don't
gotta
know
get a
what Jane,
degree
yeah.
now.
You don't know what she's doing. Now you're stressing in school. You're not even good in school, but you want to be in school because Jane is in school. So I don't know.
Right.
I think even more than the financial damage you're doing to yourself, I think that mental health damage that people are doing to themselves. And social media doesn't help either because people are posting the best part of their lives and they'll post
Right.
those worst moments or the struggle that they're going through to get to those good moments.
I should have posted the video where I fell and bust my ass. So people can see that it's not so easy for me to walk
The behind the
outside.
scenes from the pretty family pictures. Yep. Be like the
Yes.
behind the scenes. I had to bust my butt to get them nice pictures.
Right. Like people don't see. This is the part y'all don't see.
I was like, you braved me out there because my ass stayed at home.
I feel like
But
it also
go.
has a lot to do with envy. It can make you very envious too. Like like if you have success, it's people who just won't clap for you because it's like deep down they really hate that it's you and it's not them. I don't think you can grow as a person who's just always mad at the next person or like jealous. I feel like you really have to put out in the world like what it is you want and be genuinely happy for somebody when they have something that you don't have, because I feel like you block your blessings that way by being envious. You will never get what you want if you always hating on the next person.
Yeah, I said it.
Yeah. It's another thing, like kind of to piggyback off of what Rose was saying, like, you're never happy. It's like she said, it's okay to feel motivated by somebody, to see someone and say, I want that. But the thing is you have to realize it's a difference between saying I want that and I have to have that right now, because right now is when this person has it and I want it because, like she said, I want to be equal to them or better than. And it's a difference when you say, I want this and I know I have to work to get it. And I know this is not my time, but this is where I eventually want to be. Like I can see somebody in I've always wanted a BMW. I have yet to get it. But, like I've always wanted a white BMW, and I'm not gonna look at the next person that has their white BMW and feel like I have to go get one, because that's not in my financial bracket. That's not a priority right now. My priority right now is paying my rent, paying this, paying that. But there's people out there that will be like, F the rent, F this, F that. I'm gonna go purchase this vehicle. I don't care if I have to live in it. And it's like the priorities are not
at least
there.
you living in a nice car, I guess.
And that's what I see a lot of people do. Like you see people like with designer bags and like getting a ride from their friend. Like the same money that
I would be laughing about people living in cars. Like I would, because
I know we're not laughing at the people who live in cars. Like she said, it's the ones who living above their means and they live in that
that's
car.
What I'm laughing at. Like, because I was gonna tell Steph, go rent one. Go rent a BMW. Go rent it for 3 years.
Girl, no,
Beamers are bad cars. They're beautiful, but they're bad.
I'm real tight with my money, so I wouldn't even go. Like I guess that boat has floated. It was like that's something that I wanted when I was like in my 20s. At this point, it's like, child, I ain't worried about that BMW. If I get it, I get it. If I don't, I don't.
My wife and I were talking about that the other day. We said, the older they get, the more, we get, our priorities are changing. And it's like at this moment in our lives, we're mid-30s, almost 40s. At this point, we don't care what we're driving. If it's a little Corolla and it's going to get us from A to B, baby, I'm going to ride that Corolla until it hits 200,000 miles.
Listen, it's facts. Like you're right. My priorities back then aren't the same as now. That's why I'm like, I'm not even worried about what I look like getting a little 4-door BMW with all these kids.
The kids,
like my priorities ain't right.
Or it's like the people. Not that I'm trying to talk. Not that I'm trying to talk about these people, but it's always interesting to see people like who have like Teslas or like BMWs or Bentleys and stuff and Mercedes, and it's like they live in apartments. Like, I see that a lot.
Have you been to Fifth Ward and see how many of these people, these houses are worth less than what their cars are worth?
I saw this one example of this girl. She posted on Facebook. She was like, "Oh, I got my dream car, my first Mercedes." Right? She showed the financial breakdown. Guess how much her interest rate was?
Like 20-30%.
30%. Why would you? Who sold you this car?
They're having a.
This car, like, for selling you this damn dick road car because
somebody's paying more
$1,000. And I mean, what that tells me is that your credit wasn't even in a good place for you to get that car, because there's no reason why you should have a 30% interest rate on the car unless your credit is bad. So that tells me that your priorities were fucked up in the beginning. You were just focused on getting the car. But it's so much stuff that probably needs to be fixed on the back end that you probably didn't even prioritize. And of course, the car dealership gonna take your money. They ain't gonna tell you no.
Yeah, if you sign that money to fix her credit.
Once you sign that contract, shoot, good for them. They done sold a car. Now you done got something
that secured the bag, and you
secured the bag, and you're walking around thinking you secured the bag when you just really secured some major debt.
You secured the bag,
crazy.
But the bag.
Keeping up with the Joneses. It gives the appearance like, oh, I got this Mercedes, is the nice one. I got that money. When in reality, you probably really don't.
I mean, if
And a
you
lot of
have that
people,
money, you ain't gonna have it after having to pay for that car note and the insurance.
but it's
Yeah.
the 30% interest rate. Like, what
And then you
in the
have to think about
world?
the maintenance too on some of these things. Like it's
Mm-hmm.
maintenance. And that's all the things that I calculated in my head. I'm like, first of all, it's a foreign. Think about price. Like I like going to O'Reilly, wherever, to get my little parts for my Chevy or whatever. And
AutoZone.
yeah, AutoZone. Like at that time, that's the bracket that I was in. So that's the bracket
Yeah.
that I stayed. Now I still aspire to get to a higher bracket, but that doesn't mean I was going to be in the negative trying to get there. You ain't
Right.
gonna never. You always. That's what it is. You think you're 10 steps ahead, and you always gonna be 10 steps behind trying to keep up with somebody.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's like me when I lost my car because it got totaled. I'm like, dang, I really wanted this Infinity. I always wanted an Infinity because I drove when I used to work like really close with that brand. And I'm like, dang, was an Infinity available? It was a good price if you ask me. But like Rose said, like you gotta think about them, or like y'all said, you gotta think about the maintenance. At the time when I'm talking to her, she's like, the maintenance on them cars. I'm like, yeah. Even though it may be a good price for the car itself, the tires gonna cost a lot. The oil change gonna cost a lot. Ain't nothing gonna be cheap on it. So I'm like, you know what? I need to get my little Altima that I got and get these affordable tires, affordable oil change, affordable
You
cruise.
go.
Like,
You can go to the primos over here and be like, hey, hook me up real quick.
That's the primos.
Like, hey. So
it's about like, yeah, you may want the nicer things, but like realistically, like look at yourself, look at your finances, look at like everything that comes with what you asking for. Is that really something you can do right now?
Yeah.
If the answer is no, don't do it. Just wait.
Yeah, definitely.
Or if you really want something, just save up for it. People don't believe in saving money either. The good stuff, they want it right away.
Look, I shopped around for that Mini Cooper and decided to go against it because insurance was as much as an SUV because they classify it as an SUV.
Really?
The Mini Cooper Countryman is classified as an SUV, and I told my wife if I'm going to pay that much insurance. I told my wife if I'm gonna, and then it's supposed to be it's a car from Germany, so parts are super expensive, labor is super expensive. The dealers don't get the parts really quick because where I went, the dealer said we order the parts, but they take a couple weeks to get here. And then I told my wife's like, well, she's like, it's up to you, and I'm like, no, I'm not gonna do that. I was like, I don't want to have to do maintenance on a vehicle first of all, and second of all, it's like if I have to wait a week to fix a car, I'm like, what's the point of me getting it? You know? And I was like, no. We voted against the Mini Cooper. It was beautiful, and I test drove it, but I was like, that's not something I want to struggle with.
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe it was a nice car though. But the price of an SUV for a little car that's big, I'm bigger than the car now.
So, you know what? I was like, I don't know why you want this car, but okay, Rose.
It's cute, and it picked up speed really quickly. It picked up speed really quickly. My wife, me, and the guy that was from the dealership, we all three of us fit in that car perfectly. He was in the back, and you could still fit another person, so it's like a 4-person vehicle. And I told her, I said, it's only going to be for me because it's just to get me to work and back. Like I'm not going to use it for anything else. So it was perfect. The size was perfect. But when you want to sell me a vehicle for about 45 grand and insurance is 300 a month, no. I was like, nope, I'd rather get an SUV.
See, that's things you got to think about before you go trying to live with the Joneses. Not that you were, but just saying like that's what you got to do. You got to like really think things out.
The Joneses can keep the Mini Cooper.
What's that word called when you impulsive? A lot of people are impulsive, which leads them into bad situations because they don't think things through. I'm very impulsive sometimes, but I learned to think things through.
Beamers and Mercedes Benz are nice, but
I want a Mercedes so bad, but I cannot afford it. The maintenance is what will keep me from getting one.
I think somebody told me one time that just an oil change was about 100 and something. So just the oil change on one of those, I think they paid more than $100 just to change the oil.
Shit, imagine the tires. They're probably like $500 each.
Our Telluride, it's not a luxury vehicle. It's a Kia, and the tires are $380 something each. So imagine a luxury vehicle. Like them tires gonna be like $600 each.
Girl, Lord,
I don't want to pay a car notes price on a tire.
See, now I was complaining when I had my checks and I had to pay $500 total. I'm like,
That's good.
Yeah.
$500 total is good. I was crying when they told me it was $380 something just for one fucking tire. So my wife is, there's nothing they can do. Like pull the, it was I think it was like something was stuck in it and it was the wrong way, so they couldn't even like just patch it up. I had to replace.
Your tire never gets like a nail in the right place. It's always on the wall, a place that they can't patch, and you got to get a new tire. Like it never happens perfectly.
Yep.
Crazy. Okay.
So I grieve that money too, because man.
Baby, that's when I go try to find the essays. Who got the best price on the tires? I even get a used one if I have to. Shit.
Yeah, but sometimes those tires are already used, so they're already maybe like midlife. So by the time you have to buy another one, you're paying the price of a new one. So
not if it's $35, I'm not.
Facts.
Stop.
That's fine.
Oh shit!
By then I'll be ready for a full price tire.
Hey.
That's funny.
Let's get back to it.
That's crazy.
All right. So, next question, the last question. How do we let go of the Joneses? How do we let them go?
I wonder if people who have that mentality ever grow out of it. Like, I don't know. Like
I think it might take something very drastic to happen to them for them to grow out of it. Like maybe they might have to lose everything that they thought was like the priority to them for them to realize I didn't need all this shit anyway.
Something that really troubled them.
Right, that's happened to me like at one time. I feel like at one time I did it above my means too, a couple years ago, probably like around 2018. And well, it really came like after I had lost my job. And when I lost my job, you couldn't keep up with your bills and stuff. Like all the credit cards that you thought you can keep up with, all of a sudden those minimums, you can't keep up with them. And it's like that moment, like I'm like, okay, I didn't really need to rack up this debt. I didn't need all these credit cards. I didn't need, it takes something drastic, at least for me to realize, okay, you don't need all the stuff you thought you needed. You didn't need, So I think, in my opinion, I think it takes something dramatic to happen to them for them to realize I didn't need all this shit anyway.
I think that makes a lot of sense, and it comes down to being honest with yourself. Like, is this really something I need? Like you said, is this something I need or is it something I want? That's something that I always ask myself.
Yeah.
Because I say I want a shit. Like, my wife always tells me what do you want for Christmas, and I tell her I want a lot of shit. My list is big. But do I need all that shit? I was like, no, I don't, and I think it comes down to that, like being honest with yourself. Like, is this something I really have to have right now? Like Steph said, like, because the Joneses have it right now. Or is it something that I actually want or something that I actually want to strive to do in the future? Like maybe not right now, but like you said before, save up money and buy, later. So definitely I think being honest with yourself about what your needs and wants are. Focusing on what your own goals are. Like what is that something that I strive to do in the future? Or is it just because, ABC have it that I want to do it?
Right. Yeah. I think in that situation, it also helped me understand like financial like literacy. Because, a lot of us didn't grow up with that either. Like we had to teach ourselves different things, because our parents didn't even know. And even right to this day, some of our parents, they don't understand what a budget is. That situation itself help me understand like I need to budget my money. So I end up creating like a spreadsheet so I can know exactly where all my money goes, so I can know exactly how much money I'm gonna have left over at the end of the pay period. Like every cent had a place to go. And I think if you see it, you can kind of understand like, okay, this is where I'm putting my money on. Like, okay, well I can cut down on like it helps you visually see where all your money is going. So I think that's how you let go of the Joneses is by prioritizing. Girl, look, that's the one thing I will not sacrifice. I'm going to eat when I want to eat.
The biggest portion of our money goes to food. And when we sat down at the end of the year, we talked about it. We're like, no, that's way too much money that we're putting into eating out. We're like, we can afford to cook inside. We need, let's make it a goal to cook more this year. So
that is my guilty pleasure. That's my guilty pleasure is food. Like that's the one thing I don't tell myself no to. It's hard to tell myself no. If I want it, I'm gonna eat.
It's hard.
I tell myself no, but for the most part, yeah, I agree. Food is the weak point. Like
It's the weakness.
Listen, I'll pay some good money for a good steak.
Yes.
Girl, look, I pay some good money for a taco truck.
And I won't even be
taco trucks cost me at least
tacos.
$10-12 depending on what I'm getting.
Mm-hmm.
Now,
it can get expensive to eat out now.
Shoot, but honestly, eating out or buying groceries is almost as equally as expensive because I buy groceries and I mean, I guess y'all are a smaller family, but like this family of 5 situation,
I already know.
It's expensive.
It's crazy.
I already know.
Sometimes it ends up being cheaper just to go buy a meal because now you're not wasting.
True.
You're not wasting gas, because if you cook, the gas bill gonna go up.
And then you're wasting groceries and nobody eats the food after a couple of days. So it's
right. And then they're like, oh, well, I ate that yesterday. Or, and it's like, okay, it's just,
I mean, I give leftovers a little bit of time, but I mean, after like 3 days or 4 days, I'm like, all right, I don't want that no more.
Yeah, you eating it for lunch, dinner, then lunch and dinner again.
Kind of meal prep.
Yes.
Yeah.
Make the chicken last. Like maybe I should make chicken tacos today. So
we're trying this year. We're trying to minimize our eating out budget a little this year because do we need to spend all that money eating last year? No. It was a ridiculous amount of money that was spent eating out.
You only live once.
See, that's the problem. That's the problem. Right there. That motto is the problem.
Sometimes, like, y'all know how people be like, well, wait, like, what if today is your last day? And like,
that's true.
Like, you might as well get it because you don't know if you're going to make it.
You're going to wake up tomorrow in the same day. And you're going to wake up the next day in the same day. Next thing you know, it's a whole week. You're going to spend $1,000 about, well, what did you die? Well, now you're
$1,000 in steak dinners every
day. They're going to be like, what was the last thing the person ate? Oh, they ain't good.
They were not full and happy.
Mm-hmm. But I think that's another thing that, how you can let go of the Joneses. It's setting limits for yourself and saying, okay, how much is too much for me?
Yeah.
Like, how much am I willing to do? Or how much am I willing to spend? Because, man, those meals be good, too.
See, that's where my budget come in at because I designate, like, certain money to that. And I'm like, okay, when you reach that match, now it's time to eat in the house. Now it's time to go buy, the food or whatever. I try to designate that, And
I think that also helps because knowing your budget, knowing what your limits are, is also going to help you. Like, let's say a purchase of a new car, knowing what you can afford or what you can't afford. Or let's say, because you could say YOLO and buy you a Beamer, and then all of a sudden you're like, yeah, I shouldn't have done that. And have,
buyer's remorse. Yep.
Yeah, buyer's remorse is real. So definitely I think setting those limits and saying, this is what I'm willing to spend. This is how much I'm willing to pay. This is how much I think is too much. $300 on insurance for a vehicle is too much for me.
Yeah.
I told my wife I did not want to spend any more than $150, $160 for a vehicle insurance. And she's like, girl, she's like, you ain't gonna find nothing that low, but
girl, shit, especially with, I ain't gonna say my driving record, but if you have an accident these days, they're not even talking about 3 years, they're talking about 5 years. Like they hold that on your stuff for 5 years. It's not even 3 no more. So it's like anything can make your insurance go up. So you will probably never see $100.
Yeah.
But you had an accident in 5 years, they holding it against you for 5 years. And don't let something else happen. That's another 5 years. Like
I'm trying to remember when's the last time that I had an accident now. I think it's been like 4 years. And it was just because I was being a big Beck. So my wife still doesn't believe me to this point.
What you mean? You had an accident?
Some food fell over on the side of my car and I was trying to pick it up and
that's the worst. That's the worst.
rear-ending somebody and my wife's like, I do not believe you had a whole crash. I was like, look, big back problems. She still doesn't believe it to this day. She's like, nah, you were on your phone. I'm like, I promise you it was a plate of food. Like I came down, that little hill on in Fifth Ward when you're heading towards I-10?
Oh yeah.
That's where my plate fell.
Damn, she's trying to grab the food.
Yes, and I ended up hitting the person in front of me right there by the church, by that church. So she was so pissed. She's like, "How'd you hit this person?" I was like, "The food fell." And she's like, "I do not believe." I was like, "Yes, I got distracted trying to pick up the plate." And I got, I got comfortable knowing that she had her brake lights on. So I'm like, oh, she's gonna brake. But she had the turn signal. So I'm thinking she's gonna brake and go. No, the bitch broke. Like she put her brakes in and she didn't move. So by the time that I'm like hitting her, I was like, this bitch, like she could have gone right, but she didn't. I think she saw that I was
So
distracted.
did you get the plate?
What do you mean? Yeah, I hit my plate.
No, did you get it? Did you?
Oh
did you?
no, I didn't. It fell. It fell. Like the food was on the floor.
So not only did you crash, but now you don't have the food. Oh, girl, I would
That
have been.
literally reminds me of, I had a similar situation where I was eating, like, it wasn't even the
Big
whole plate.
bag.
It was just a piece of bacon and some bread that my mama had made, and I was like on the way, and I was at the stoplight, and I could have sworn I had my foot on the brake, but you know how sometimes you could just eat
Yeah.
a little bit without even noticing. And I
Yeah.
was so into my food that I had hit somebody, and I got out. I was like, "Oh no, I'm so sorry," but her car was so fucked up. She was like, "Oh, don't worry about it." She was like, "Just worry about your car."
Oh,
Like, I'm
that's
like, she
nice.
was
That was
too
nice of her.
cool. See, and because she was so cool, I was wondering, I'm like, did she make it to me? Or like, did I really hit her? Like, I wasn't really sure because I'm like, I don't know. I just assumed
You
I
were
hit
too
her.
busy eating the bacon.
Like some people, they be at the light, they be trying to back up because they want to make a turn or something. So they back.
Yeah.
I'm like, it could have been that, and because I was distracted, I really didn't know. So I just thought I hit her. And maybe that's why she
Yeah.
was like, oh, don't worry about it. But then again, like I said, her car was
Yeah.
kind of beat up anyway, so she probably didn't even care. She was just like, well, just take care of your car.
Not me. It was a whole thing. And I'm still fighting my wife about it because she doesn't believe the fact that I hit somebody because I was trying to
I mean, if that's
catch
what
my
you're
plate of
saying,
food.
I think that's what it was.
I mean, I told her, why would I lie about, trying to catch a plate of food? I was like, it was fajitas too. Her uncle packed us a plate of fajitas for my daughter, and it was gonna fall, and that's when I'm like trying to pick it up. It initially ended up falling over, and I'm too busy trying to get the fucking plate, which I should have just fucking left there. And then I hit the lady, and my wife's like, I can't believe you hit. I'm like, look, at this point, it's been years. If you want to believe it, okay. If you don't, then shit. But yep. Hitting people because we're eating. It's a real thing.
Yep.
I think one thing I do is I tend to punish myself. Like, for example, like Rose said, she got into an accident because she was trying to grab her food. Like, I would have punished myself after that and like been like, okay, well, you can't eat out. You can't have the luxury of eating out because now you have to pay this deductible. Or like, like for instance, it's been several times I've gotten booted, at work. And I'll like sit there and be like, okay, I can't eat out today because I have to pay $100 boot.
180 in some places.
Yeah. So that's one thing I do is punish myself when I do things that cost money because of my negligence. And I think that's my way of making sure I, keep myself in check. Like you don't deserve it because technically I didn't, it's like, okay, well, the money that I am put into this negligent thing that I did is what I would have done it used to eat out or whatever. So it's like because of XYZ, now you can't do XYZ.
Yeah.
And okay. It's kind of like I don't know. I don't know why I do that to myself. Y'all don't do that?
I don't think I do that. I just feel very bad.
You're like, oh, I'm gonna still eat good. I'm just feel bad while I'm doing it.
I'm gonna feel very bad,
I don't know why I do that. I need to figure out why my mentality is like that. I think it's one of them things like from when you're a kid.
Right.
Like,
yeah. You mess up, you take something away. Yeah.
Right. So, yeah. But
okay. So just to double back, so how do we let go of the Joneses? So maybe just not about living above your means, living within your means, trying to maybe budget, to see what you can and can't afford. Saving, for the things that you do want. So even if you do want that Mercedes, like understand what that comes with and try to save for it, if anything. And maybe make sure your credit's in a good place too, so you don't end up with no 38% interest rate on the car. because that ain't helping you stay below the Joneses. It's gonna hurt more than it helps. What was something else we said?
Let your ego go.
Yeah, let the ego go. You know, ain't nobody even looking at you.
No. No,
Yeah.
they're not.
Busy worried about themselves. Ain't nobody looking at you. And if they is,
That's true.
But you don't come pay my bills? No. If you can pay my bills, you can look all you want, sweetie, because come pay these bills.
Period.
What else? I guess
I think that's it.
Be realistic. The Joneses might be broke.
Yes.
that part.
Oh my God.
They living above their own means, and here you go thinking they got everything. In reality, they struggling too.
Like,
that's a good one.
You're gonna drive yourself broke trying to keep up with them too.
You don't even know what they're going through. They're probably over there selling drugs and stuff. Like, you don't know. And
that's facts though. That is facts though.
You're trying to keep up with drug dealers, and it's you're not gonna be able to do it. Like,
y'all like in a whole different financial bracket. Drug dealers get money every day.
These people that did time, like, just
they got whole records. Okay, they house probably not even in their name. They house is in their girlfriend's name.
Yeah. That's what Diddy said he did. He said, I ain't got nothing under my name. They can't get me for nothing. Yeah. He said they ain't gonna get nothing.
Even like, like these celebrities, like people look up to these celebrities and they have these houses and these cars. And I'm like, half of them are renting
and then they be in debt.
Yes.
So you
think
can't
about some of these celebrities that end up, like losing all of their money. It's because they were trying to keep up with the Joneses and knowing that they, you should have been saving your money, investing it.
They don't even be paying their taxes. Like
these football players.
Oh, and speaking of a football player, it was this one who just got like a $90-something million contract, and he was like trending on social media because he pulled up in a Honda, and they're like,
he doing the smart thing.
He got some white man telling him what he should do with his money.
Financial advisor.
Some accountants, some financial advisors saying this is how you keep your money. So even when he probably gonna have, if he had 96 million, he probably gonna have 95 million by the time he get old because he was smart with his money. Because he's gonna
double that money.
And he didn't keep up with the Joneses.
Now the look at Shaq. Thing is hopefully his financial advisor ain't pocketing any of his money.
That's true
too. But hopefully that's not the case.
Nah, baby, I'm gonna need access to everything. I don't care if I'm not even touching. I want to see it. I'm that person. My money involved, I want to at least have my eyes on it because no, we ain't playing that.
Like Daddy Yankee.
Look at Shaq.
Yeah, Shaq, all the money he's invested in, everything he did while playing basketball. That man has stocks in everything from like the Ring camera to the pizza thing, Papa John's to Carnival Cruises. That man got into everything.
Yep.
So he did the smart thing. He's still making bank. And he got nothing.
Investing your money.
He probably has a nice house too, but like you said, it's about investing. That's why we talk about when people they win a lottery, they end up broke. Like I said, if I win a lottery, I'm gonna do the smart thing. Yeah, I might have a house, I might get a nice car, but for the most part, I'm gonna get a financial advisor. I'm gonna give myself probably like a monthly allowance, maybe like a yearly salary out of that, like something feasible to where you can have what you want, but you can still like live a little bit, below, like not trying to do too much. And invest. If people don't believe in investing, I don't know why. You make money from that shit. Sure, you can't touch it right now, but it has returns on it, And I think that's smart. That's very smart of him. Shit, have your fingers in everybody's business when it comes to stocks, when it comes to business. Yep. So there you go. Y'all got some tips. Be like Shaq.
Be like Shaq.
Live your life. Live your truth.
Yeah. Don't live Shaq's level. Just live like mini Shaq, mini Shaq.
Yeah, you can be Big Shaq, but Big Shaq didn't get to Big Shaq overnight.
He started with Little Shaq and built up.
It's levels to this shit. It's levels to this shit. So remember,
everybody got to start somewhere. So while we thinking about the person who got what we want right now, just know they started from ground zero. Yes. And they had to go through so much trials and tribulations to get to the what you see right now. They didn't get that overnight.
Yes. Facts. All right, guys. Well, thank you for tuning into our podcast. Again, if you enjoyed our content, please subscribe to our channel, like, and comment. We love feedback. While you're at it, follow us on all streaming platforms. So wherever you stream your podcast, your music, we are on there. You can also find us through Instagram, and we got TikTok back, so you can find us on there too. Also, if you have a topic that you would like for us to discuss, or if you'd like to be a guest on our podcast, feel free to email us. Again, thank you, and see you next week for your weekly scoop serving.
Peace.
Bye.